Okay, we're recording. Um, Good afternoon. It's Ruby here from the Holistic Directory, and I'm thrilled to have with me today the very lovely Janey Lee Grace. Many of you in this group know Janey, and you have met or experienced some form of this lovely lady before, whether it be through seeing her singing from the past, or TEDx talks, or Imperfectly Natural, and Janey is an author, and her work in PR. But life changed 3 years ago, didn't it, Janey? And here we are today to uncover why and what happened for you.
Yeah,
We
sure.
step into your sober journey. So
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I do wear a lot of hats, and probably people, some people know me from the radio, and as you say, some might be really old and know me as a singer. And I think probably some of your members I've worked with on things like my Platinum Awards, because I've been passionate for so many years about health and well-being and sustainability, and still am. None of that has changed, and I still do all of that. And Platinum Awards 21 will be happening despite everything, so that's really good. But that's where everything does kind of link together in a funny sort of way, because I've been talking about this stuff, health and well-being, for years and years. My first book, Imperfectly Natural Woman, was 2005 or 2006. I was kind of ahead of my time. I was talking about, I don't know, oil pulling, with coconut oil and far infrared machines. And, I sometimes joke that I was talking about coconut oil and kale before they had their own publicists,
yeah.
So I was kind of ahead of the curve, and have been that kind of queen of holistic living ever since, albeit imperfectly. However, across all of those years, I was stepping around this massive elephant in the room, which was that I was drinking too much. And I thought I got away with it because I was imperfectly natural. That was my naughty little vice, and my one bit of naughtiness, and it was all fine. And wasn't it all jolly? And all these news reports that I used to read that said, well, actually, there's no safe levels of alcohol. I always remember reading, I think was it Dame Sally Baker or someone like that. I remember it being in the news, and she's saying pregnant women certainly should have zero alcohol. And I'd just had 4 babies, and yeah, I'd had the occasional drink, I'm ashamed to say, not to mention caning it as soon as I'd stopped breastfeeding, kind of thing. So, and I just thought, that's nonsense. As long as you look after yourself, as long as you eat well, as long as you don't put chemicals on your skin, what's wrong with a little tipple? Anyways, it took an awful long time before it kind of, because alcohol seems like a great friend. It seems like you're with some people it's the longest relationship until it bites you on the bum.
Yeah.
And
I'm in the room with that one. It's
yeah,
touch, so to speak. Yeah.
It eventually it bites you on the bum. And literally my only regret is that I just didn't come to this sooner. I don't have any regrets, but that's a big one. It's a really big one, because when I think back, my God, the years the stuff I wasted, really. And anyways, to continue with what happened for me, I had many years, I think, where I knew that it was wrong. Somewhere deep down, I knew there was something wrong. I was never at rock bottom. It's really important to stress that. The fact that I wasn't at rock bottom, and the perception in this country is that there are only 2 types of drinkers. You're either at rock bottom, and they'll find you in a skip, of a morning, and you need alcohol services and rehab. And then there's absolutely everyone else, and they're all perfectly fine and happy, and they don't have any problem at all. Just happy social drinkers who occasionally, can't hold their beer. But I didn't fit either spectrum. I most certainly wasn't at rock bottom. So I would never have asked for help or looked for rehab. I mean, that's not me at all. I was perfectly fine. But I was waking up at 3 a.m. every single day, and, bolt awake. I mean, I now know it's a very auspicious time. Of course, that was my liver trying to bloody well heal itself, bless it, and I would wake at 3 a.m. just saying, what are you doing? Just what are you doing? Stop it. This cannot go on. You're meant to be healthy. You're meant to care about, well-being. What are you actually doing? You're totally inauthentic. You're peddling these messages of optimum health and well-being, and you are putting toxic poison in your body every single day, and tons of it, so that would happen every day. I'd try and, as I say in my TED talk, make a little deal with God and say, oh God, I promise I'll give up. Please just let me not have a hangover today. I've got such a mad day, please. And God would usually keep his side of the bargain, because I never had hangovers. Such was my tolerance.
Yeah.
So I'd be completely fine during the day, absolutely 100% fine. And come 6 o'clock, it's a nice day. The wine witch is in my ear saying, go on, don't be ridiculous. What are you talking about? You're going to give up? Don't be so stupid. No one gives up. Sober equals bores. Don't be so crap. Just have a glass of Sauvignon Blanc. You deserve it. You've had a really busy day. And then the whole thing would start all over again. And this went on for years and years. And there were times when I gave up, when I stopped for a while. I did stop for about 9 months at one point, after I'd done a juice retreat, did one of Jason Vale's juice retreats. Did a bit of had a bit of NLP, I think I probably read Jason's book and had a bit of NLP, and just thought, yeah, don't need this, stop. So I stopped. But there's a really big difference, and that's what we'll come on to. And then anyways, I 3 years ago, there was no big rock bottom moment for me. It was just that over the months leading up to that, I had been feeling particularly fearful, really. It's probably the best word to use. Fearful about getting older. Really, really, really worried about getting older. I couldn't see any benefit to it. It's like, my God, everyone talks about everything going south, and I couldn't see a way out. I was putting weight on, I was bloated, I was sluggish, I had less energy. And I sort of remember kind of looking in the mirror one day and thinking, this ain't going to get any better. How can this get any better ever?
Had your tolerance for alcohol started to drop as well, Janey, do you think, around, when you were feeling?
Maybe a little bit, but not really. I think, to be perfectly honest, I mean, in some ways, I think I'm really lucky in that the fact that I was looking after myself in other ways meant that I was doing a little bit of insurance. Really, by rights, the amount I was drinking, I should have been more ill, to be honest. But I was taking fantastic supplements, and I was looking after myself. So I was managing to abate some of the damage. That's not to say I would recommend anyone else does that, but thank God I did, because otherwise it would have been even worse than it was. But I just remember thinking, nothing's going to get any better here. So what are my options? And I remember thinking, well, I could have work done or surgery or something, but that doesn't sit well with me, with my natural approach. And I suppose I could go on a really massive diet, but then I'll put it back on again, because I always do, and what about the energy? Well, how am I going to get more energy? And I just remember thinking, this is actually crap. I'm menopausal, and this is crap. And I felt really down about it all, which is not really like me at all. But and then it was just really interesting, because we've all got the kind of the conscience, our own little conscience that taps away, and a little voice just kind of said, well, you could try ditching the booze. That might be interesting. And of course, if I ever allowed that voice to come in, I very quickly realized that I couldn't just give up the booze, because it ain't that easy. I was in a trap. I really was in a trap. So anyways, that carried on for a good few months. And then I was given a book to read just before Christmas. It was December 2017. And because I work on Radio 2, we were going to interview Claire Pooley. And on January the 2nd, when we went back in, and I was given her book to read over Christmas. And that's unheard of, because you never get books other than the night before. And I was given this book with 2 weeks to read, called The Sober Diaries. I looked at that. I just knew. I knew that was it. That had been given to me for a reason, Wow. And so I read that book. It's so brilliant. It's so relatable. That's why I brought my book out, because I'm just praying that mine might change someone's life, the way hers changed mine. So I just read about, she's a mum, and she was drinking every day, and she knew it had to stop. And it's just very relatable. And she got through it, and the times that were difficult, and the times that then she started to see another way of life. And I got to the end of the book, and I just thought, well, that's it. At the very least, I must do dry January just to, so I can tell Claire when she comes into the studio, you know, I must at least do that. So I stopped on December 30th, 2017, and never looked back. And, you know, I can't pretend that the first few weeks were easy. They were absolutely hideous because I did it all wrong, actually. And I now know that there are lots and lots of things I could have done to make it so much easier for myself. I could have done it in a much more, you know, holistic, optimum health way. And that's why now I don't use the phrase give up at all, because you're not giving anything up. You're giving nothing up at all. You're only gaining. And yeah, so that's really the book has come about, well, and the podcast, because I want people to focus on ditching the booze, but I also want them to focus on staying sober and catching sight of that actual true optimum health and well-being that's all underpinned, you know, by that sobriety. That's a hell of a long answer. Do with it what you will.
It's really good. It's really good. Because similar to yourself, and obviously people who do know me or know me quite well, you know, I have talked about it before, that drink has been, you know, a crutch to myself, and it is something that I have struggled with, and I've had problems with depression, anxiety before. And of course, that's like pouring gasoline all over the problem.
It hugely exacerbates it. I had no idea the extent to which it was connected, and it's not talked about enough. It really isn't, and particularly for women. The amount of clients that I have, they'll tell me that they've rocked up to a GP, they've shared their symptoms, often menopausal perhaps, or perimenopause, and the fact that they, you know, have anxiety, depression. They'll be given antidepressants, sometimes HRT as well. Never asked about their drinking. What the hell? Never asked. That's got to change.
It has, because it's such an important part of it. Quickly going back to when you said, so the first time when you did sort of give up, and it was like 9 months, and when you went back to, you know, and it happened, you know, you picked a glass of wine back up again or whatever. So how long was it then again after that when you went, and was it a long time after when you'd read Claire Pooley's book after that first time?
It was a long time. It was probably let me think, a good 6-7 years. Probably. Long time. I mean, if you want to know why it worked this time, inverted commas, not last time, it's very simple. I'm 100% clear on this now. You know, it took me a while to work this out for myself, but I now know, with all the training I've done and with everything I now know and the work I do in the Sober Club, I now realize what I didn't know before. And that is that emotions, not logic, inspire action, right? And what I mean by that is, the logical piece of this is really important. Understanding why alcohol is bad for you is critical. So reading books like Jason Vale's and Alcohol Explained by William Porter and various other books that I reference in mine, it is important. It is important to really get that knowledge. I mean, you might think that we know it anyway, but I didn't. I actually didn't really know just how toxic alcohol is. I didn't want to know. I didn't want to go there, but it actually is really important that we do fully learn that alcohol is, when all things taken into account, the most harmful drug. When you take into account harm to others, harm to the economy, it is the most harmful drug. I mean, staggering.
And the only way it gets away is because it's most socially acceptable. And
it's the social glue that sticks everything together. But so that logic piece is important. We need that logic piece. We need to know, we need to really understand that, and again, particularly as women, just how unbelievably bad this is for us. And you just live in on borrowed time. You know, if you think you're going to get away with it. I did get away with it for a long time. And I looked after myself, but you do pay a price, and sometimes you don't even realize. So that logic piece is critical, right? So that you really have got the logic. And I had the logic the first time. I was working purely on logic, that this is bad for me. I don't need it. I'm okay without it. I've NLP'd myself into choosing a different drink because alcohol is bad for me, was the thought process, right? Until several months down the line, when I know I'm no longer in the pain point, you know, I'm no longer feeling bad or anything else, and then there's a nice glass of wine, and allegedly, you know, and I'm in a party atmosphere, or the sun's shining, or it's social, or whatever it might be for you, and then the voice comes in, well, you don't have an addiction anymore, you're completely fine, it's perfect, you've not had a drink for 9 months, so of course you can moderate, so why would you not want that lovely glass of wine? Because if you can moderate, and one won't harm. Of course one won't harm. So because logic says alcohol is bad for you, you know, like lots, so one won't harm you, so why don't you just have one? So I did. And of course it never is one, is it? Not if you don't have an off switch like I didn't. So the difference this time is that I got the logic loud and clear, but I also got something completely different, and that is a sense of possibility, an excitement that I had never considered before, where I looked to the positive, where instead of just doing this because it's bad for you, it was a case of, hold on, my life could be, you know, immeasurably better in every single way without any. Now, I had no experience of that since being a teenager. So it was a hell of a leap of faith. But I caught sight of that. That's why I started listening to podcasts. That's why I listened to Quit Lit. That's why I started my own podcast. I got inspired, and suddenly it became the emotional piece. I got the logic, that was done and dusted. But then when the voice came in saying, oh, you've got this now, you can have one, there was something else, because then I was able to respond to myself by saying, but hold on a minute, I've caught sight of a million times better life without this shite. Why would I want to jeopardize that? Right. And that's the key. And it can take people a few times around the block to get to it. But that's the work I'm doing. You know, I'm trying to bring a totally positive approach to this, so that this isn't about giving up alcohol because it might make you ill and it is bad for you. It's about saying, I wonder if my life could be better physically and emotionally without any. There's a thing.
Brilliant. I mean, I've done some more mindset work, I would say, this year. So where I think 5 months is the longest I've done before. And yes, I wish obviously I'd carried it on, but I'm excited now at this possibility. I'm excited about reading your book and hearing more, because you touch on more about the spirituality side of it, the well-being. And what else can we expect in the book to get, you know, obviously we're touching on a little bit of it here today, but
well, yeah, the book is
some tips that,
yeah, I mean, my aim is that the book will be, you know, massively of interest for you, whether you're sober curious or, you know, on day one or a few weeks in, but also if you've been sober for 6 years, because it's kind of everything I do, really. It's all the optimum health and well-being stuff. So I do start with I suppose you could call it a 30-day challenge effectively, but it's a really in-depth description of the absolute top tips to get you through the early weeks, the early days and weeks, and that includes things like eat really well. That sounds really obvious, but actually most people don't. Most people go, oh, I'm going to do dry Jan, or I'm going to stop for a month. You know what, I may as well lose some weight, so I'll stop eating as well. You know, and it's one of the most bonkers things you can do. You cannot focus on anything else when you're giving the booze. It's when you're ditching the booze, you only focus on that. The weight loss won't come straight away, so forget about it. It will come later down the line, but you've got to be patient. In the early weeks, you need really good nutrient-dense food. Reason being that your brain chemistry is out of whack. So the alcohol leaves your body, so it's not really a physical craving, but the issue is that the brain chemistry is completely shot. So dopamine, serotonin, GABA, your poor little, you know, body doesn't know what's hit it. It's like, what's going on? Where's my dopamine hit? I want to feel better, you know, or I want my mojo back. And so we end up feeling grumpy, irritable, can't sleep. I had leg cramps, all sorts of stuff, because I didn't do it right. You know, I completely forgot to eat properly. Literally, I mean, I'm queen of doing it wrong, actually. I mean, in a funny sort of way, that's good, because now I know how to help people. but that's one of the keys. So we go through that in the first part of the book. I talk about how to address the issue of sugar, because of course a lot of people get a sugar head on, stop drinking, then become a total sugar monster. So we talk about that. We talk about how to deal with cravings, which are just thoughts, but they're really strong thoughts. So we talk about that. We talk about how to incorporate self-care. So all of that practical, really practical stuff, both physical and emotional, for the first 30 days and, or first 6 weeks. And then the second kind of half, if you like, or 3/4 of the book is just everything to do with optimum health and well-being. And I've got masses in there on nutrition and juicing and fitness, and then there's a ton of emotional well-being stuff. So I have lots of great contributors as well. So there's a section on NLP and hypnosis and EFT and sleep and sex and the menopause and creativity, finding your purpose. Because the interesting piece here, you see, is that once you ditch the booze, your life expands. So many Sober Club members have said to me, "Oh my God, I just can't believe I'm the same person. Yeah. I've started a charity, or I've written a book, or I've lived somewhere different, or it just everything changes. Everything changes, and hopefully that's what you get from the book. It's like a kind of lifestyle health and well-being book on steroids, really. But without the drugs of any kind.
Yeah, you like that.
That's not a good phrase, is it? I won't use that one again.
We know what you mean. It's just purely doing it really naturally, and making those, like you say, replacing it as well with the nicer things, and becoming a little bit more excited about the possibilities of how we can feel without having that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, obviously, in the early weeks, much of of what's going on is a little toddler tantrum in your head. I want to feel I want to relax. I want to feel good. I want, and it's completely understandable. So what we have to do is really notice that inner voice and take care of it and take care of ourselves. And that means noticing that if a certain time of day we have a drink with friends or whatever, well, not anymore, but you know what I mean. If we crack open a bottle of wine with our partner at a certain time, that's a ritual that can be very important. And if all of a sudden you then say, well, I'll just have a cup of tea, the little inner toddler in you says, oh, that's a bit crap. You're feeling deprived. And that's when it all goes wrong. So you have to prep ahead. And my mantra, which you'll have heard me say a ton of times, is keep the ritual, change the ingredients. Yeah. So if it's important for you to have a nice drink with your dinner or with your partner or whatever it is, or if after a certain event you always crack open something, then for now, one might say, well, that's a behavior you don't need. Well, who cares? Right now, we're cracking something really important. So keep that ritual and have a lovely glass. Why in the name of God does a glass have to have the name wine in it? What the hell? But anyway, have a nice glass and put something alcohol-free into it. And the beautiful thing now is, as you well know, the choice is huge. If I was trying to do this 10 years ago, it would have been much tougher. No one knew that I'd ditched the booze for the first 3 months. I didn't tell anyone. Now, again, on the one hand, that's ridiculous. And I wish I hadn't done it that way. And it's not what I recommend. But the fact that I did do it, and I lived my life entirely normally, and I've got a big family, and I was going out to events and social stuff, and I did it without anyone noticing, proves that it can absolutely be done without making a fuss, right? And that was, and it was only because I either rang ahead to the venue, and I recommend anyone doing this, how we do dietary requirements. If you're going somewhere, you send your dietary requirements in. Yes, send your dietary requirements in. Say, I want a really nice alcohol-free grown-up drink, please. I'm not going to, while everyone else is having their, wine or champagne, make sure you've got something really nice and alcohol-free for me. And if they haven't, take your own. And the choice is huge. I mean, the choice is huge now. Beautiful spirits, beautiful fizzers, botanicals, fizzers. If you don't want something that looks like alcohol, then there's kombucha, which is actually good for your gut. And there are masses of ranges, loads of lovely ranges. There's syrups and there's tonics and there's lovely artisan tonics. And, you can just get a wine glass and you can have some sparkling water and drop a berry in it, that's kind of nice. Pink.
It still works.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're still having a nice social experience, and that is the main thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's about looking after your kind of inner toddler in the first weeks when you're most likely to have a tantrum, until it settles down a bit. But you have to do preparation. If you just don't think about it, you just, right, tonight I will not drink. I will not drink. If you keep focusing on what you're not doing, you'll end up doing it. You have to focus on what you're going to add in. What are you going to have instead then? Yeah. What are you going to do instead? Maybe at the witching hour, you decide to go and do a yoga class or listen to a hypnosis audio or whatever. That's why in the Sober Club, we've got loads of resources of meditations and hypnosis audios and distractions, but healthy distractions.
Yeah, I was going to come on to that, actually, the Sober Club, because obviously at the moment, especially as we've now received yet more bad news yesterday, and this could potentially be an even more challenging time for people.
Yeah.
But there is help out there. Sober Club is a perfect example. This isn't just about wanting to stop drinking or, picking up the book. You don't have to do it alone. I mean, advice for people, really, there are, like you said, obviously there's your own podcast, but there's lots of resources out there now as well, Janey.
Yeah, there really is. There's so much now. It's a much, again, I didn't know anything about this world. I thought there was only AA, which I didn't resonate with at all. And I kind of thought that's it. But no, it's not true. There are many online groups, many podcasts, loads of Quitlet, and obviously I would say, check out the Sober Club, because, it's small. It's very small. This is not a big, this is my absolute labor of love. It's very small. It's very supportive. And because of the connections that I have within the health and wellbeing world, I've got access to some amazing people, and I'm really lucky. And I can interview these great people or bring them in to do a session for the group, and people are like, wow, it's great. I've got some fabulous stuff coming up. I'm just getting to interview a shaman who's going to do a movement medicine session for us. I mean, how cool is that? It's great. I'm really lucky.
Yeah. So the Sober Club, we will put all the details on there. The book, Happy, Healthy, Sober.
Yeah.
So it's out already now, but
it's what's happened is the actual book is not ready till February the 11th, the paperback. Okay. But the publishers decided that they could do the ebook for the 1st of Jan, just in case, anyone wants to, I don't know, crack the January market. So obviously that's great. And lots of people like their Kindles and their ebooks. So that's out and doing well. And of course, if you buy it, I would be hugely appreciate a review, because that makes all the difference if it's a good review on Amazon or something. But yes, that's out now. Happy, Healthy, Sober, Ditch the Booze and Take Control of Your Life. And there's a foreword in there by Denise Welch. And I interviewed Denise on the podcast, and I loved interviewing Denise because obviously she's, actress, been in the media for years, was very outspoken about her depression, and she wrote a book last year on depression. Really, I think when I interviewed Denise, I think it's the first time I really properly understood depression. I have a mother who has bipolar. So I've been in and out of that world for all my life. And yet I'd never heard anyone explain it the way Denise did. It was a brilliant podcast episode. Go back and listen to it if you get a chance. But of course, she says really categorically, it wasn't till she stopped drinking, that she was able to properly manage what was going on for her. And yes, of course, she has medication. I mean, I don't want anyone to think that I'm trying to say here that by stopping alcohol, you may never, all anxiety, all depression is instantly cured. Of course, I'm not saying that, but there's no doubt that it's exacerbated by alcohol. So somebody asked me the other day, what does, I can't remember the exact question, but what's the effect of, what does stopping drinking help with, right? That kind of question. And the answer is absolutely everything. There is nothing that stopping drinking won't improve. That's a bit of a double negative sentence, but literally there is nothing that it won't improve. Name it, it's improved it. Literally every single aspect of your health and well-being and your lifestyle. There is not one single thing. I've never met anyone who actually regrets giving up drinking. Did you see that fabulous thing with Anthony Hopkins talking about being 34, was it 43 years sober or something? Unbelievable. Still a thing. Why is it a thing? Because it's the most important thing you'll ever do for your own health and well-being. It's still a thing. You know, you don't see people going, oh, you know, I'm 32 years as a vegetarian, or I'm 42 years as an ex-smoker. I mean, those things are amazing too if they've changed your life, but nothing changes your life as much as this does. And I love it when I see those
powerful stuff. That's
like
really...
Elton John, you know, 29 years or whatever, and they have soberversaries. And they give themselves gifts, and they have, you know, there was a picture of Elton, wasn't there? Was it last year on his 30th or something? And he's got flowers and he's got cake, and it's a thing. It is a thing.
But there's so many actually of some fantastic people who really crack it.
Yeah, you're definitely in with the cool crowd when you ditch the booze.
Company.
Definitely good company
now. And obviously, great time with the book, because it's 30 days, like you say, as well, that you kind of guide people through.
The early weeks
stuff.
Early weeks are the hardest. I mean, that's why, you know, when people just stop, when they decide to stop just for a month, and then they do that kind of white knuckling thing all through the month, gripping onto something, just counting, oh God, only a week till I can drink again. It's kind of counterproductive. There's no point in doing it really, because the benefits won't kick in. Your mindset won't have changed. It won't really help with anything. Far better to, if you know, don't worry about committing to forever, because that feels too big. So absolutely say to yourself, right, I'm curious. I'm going to do 30 days. And during those 30 days, I am going to focus on becoming as well as I can possibly be, and getting inspired as to how continuing to be alcohol free might really benefit me. And if you use the time for that, then, you know, no, everything won't be sorted. You won't be feeling 100% well at the end of 30 days, but you definitely have got some sparks, and you definitely will have seen some stuff. I mean, I think I was about, it can take a while for some people. I think I was about 4 or 5 months when I met a friend who I've not seen in a couple of years or something. I hadn't told her what I was doing, and we met, and she said to me, afterwards, she said, listen, I have to ask you, you know, but I know that you're really into natural, you know, stuff and everything, but I have to ask you, have you had work done? I said, what do you mean? So have you had Botox and stuff? I said, no, bloody, of course I bloody haven't. Don't be ridiculous. It was so daft. And she said, oh my God, you look like you've had a facelift. I mean, you know, I know I don't, but nevertheless, I think what it's about your energy. Something about your energy changes. It's hard to describe, but you know how I started this interview, where I was telling you that there I was 3 years ago, kind of looking in the mirror and thinking, I don't like this. I don't want to get old. I don't want to get older. I'm scared of this shit. I don't want menopause. I don't want to get fatter. I don't want to put weight on. I don't want to lose energy. Everything felt so negative and so down. I don't feel like that anymore. I'm getting younger every year.
It's a whole new leaf of life. And honestly, that is what people say, you know, you feel
I'm not frightened of the future. Everything's getting better, not worse. Completely.
Brilliant. Oh, Janey, thank you so much. That's really inspiring for a start. And I'm sure lots of people are going to want to come out and buy your book, and whether it be on the ebook that we can get right now, or the paperback when it comes out in February. So.
Yeah, definitely. And if you buy the ebook, there's just, if you sign up if you go to happyhealthysober.com, if you bought the ebook, just sign up there, and there's some extra resources, as well as a juice shot challenge, and there's a meditation and a bunch of other free resources as well.
And we're going to be calling back in again within the month, aren't we? Because it's been lovely to be here. I'm going on the journey myself.
Cool. So, any help you want, just shout. Just because, you know, it is about being connected. You know, I was talking about the you know, what I did wrong, and I didn't get connected either. And I now realize I could have made it so much easier for myself. And that's what's beautiful about the Sober Club, is that power of connection and other people to cheer you on. And when people have been there, done it, got the t-shirt, they really want to cheer other people on, because they know what it feels like.
The first time I did do it, which was some time ago that I went for a larger amount of time, so sort of 5 months. Yeah, I did get a lot of I wasn't in the right environment.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of people who are like, oh, what do you mean you're not having a drink? You know, it was kind of all of that.
Sober shamers.
Yes, sober shamers. And we have, there has been a big jump since then with obviously a lot of people and exactly what we've been talking about today. So it'll be different, I expect this time, and I'll be, like we said, in good company.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Time to get connected and get sober. But yeah,
Brilliant.
It's been really lovely having you here.
Lovely to chat to you.
Yeah. Speak to you soon. Thanks,
Take
Jane.
care. Bye.
Bye.